Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your attention. We'll begin the meeting now, and I'm gathering us back to order. And so, item 4.1, I would like a broadcast statement by student member Halbel. If I can have your attention, please.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air Sunday, November 18th at 9 a.m. and Monday, December 10th at noon, and Wednesday, December 12th at 8 p.m., and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please complete a speaker form located in the back of Community Room and give them to our communications representative, along with any handouts you may have for the board, prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is on the agenda, we will ask that you please defer your comments until your item comes up on the agenda. Please also turn off your cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate.
Thank you. Today, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Hiram Johnson Students Making Positive Change. I would like to invite you to the podium and lead us in the pledge, if you would.
Do we say it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you will stay there for a moment. Member Cochran?
Yes, I am so happy that you're here. We're going to see a video that these students made, and they are talking about their school, the pride they have in their school, and what their school, Hiram Johnson High School, is really like. So if you could stay while we show the video, then afterwards I have a few words.
Johnson, they're like, oh, I heard that's a bad school.
And they'd be like, isn't that a really bad school?
And only bad students come in here.
In this school, we've had a lot of negatives.
But like, why are you there? Like, you have so much potential to be somewhere else.
I feel like the media just like picks out whatever favors them and whatever's gonna get them the most views.
Everyone in our school isn't actually what the media is saying, that we're bad students, because we're not.
When there's school shootings, they're always there. Like, let's say there's 20 fights here and like 10 people get hurt at Johnson, they're gonna just come running in, right? But why didn't the media come in? Last year when we had two kids going to like 4-year universities, why we had one go to UCLA and one go to Berkeley.
Since I've been here, I've been definitely paying attention to my afterlife of high school. And so when I see stuff like that, I'm like, well, that could affect my future a whole lot, whether it's the way I respond to it, whether it's the way I just walk away from it. Knowing when you see that stuff, it's just like, are you serious? Like, I just try and not let it get to me, or when I'm with my friends, I tell them not to really engage with that, because everything comes back to you in your future. It comes back.
Recently, we've been working to lots of positives.
We're here to learn. We're not here to just participate in other stuff like gangbanging and stuff like that or ditching us.
Being here, I just see so many people like drive to want an education.
And we actually had staff that ended up caring about us. Like our principal, he was new last year, but he has changed so much in our school. And like, let's say our field, for example, we changed that along with him. Like, all the students came together and we went down to the school district and we all stood up and demanded that we should receive a new field. Other schools that like are more rich than us and they have better students and it's better there and everyone should attend that school, they get brand new fields all the time. They get new jerseys. Before our new field that we were so lucky to granted, somebody from another school said that they thought our home field was a graveyard.
My freshman year, I was pretty shy actually.
Because when I was a freshman, I hated coming to this school.
Like my junior year, I was like, dang, my freshman year, did I even think about college? Or anything after high school?
When I first came to the school, I did not know what I wanted to be.
When I was a freshman, I used to be like really shy. I would pretend to be someone I wasn't in order to like fit in, and like throughout the years, I kind of realized that this is not the person who I want to be, and that, you know, it's all about the journey. Like, it's not about them, it's about you.
Joining ROTC and joining JCBA, both of those academies like really changed my life. It's changed me as a person, and like it's just made me stronger mentally and physically to where like like small things don't affect me anymore.
My freshman year, I didn't come here, but I'm from a town where we're not provided ROTC, JCBA, HMS. So when I came here, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is like pretty sweet. Like, they're providing this to us to be prepared for our career.
I didn't have any goals. I was confused. I just wanted to go to school, get things done, and just go straight back home with nothing else to do, nothing else to worry about. And ever since I came here, teachers and staffs and students, they all share their experience and ideas with me, and it's kind of inspired me to look for something that I wanted to do.
One thing that our school has actually done is we actually go out and help the local community. The academy that I'm in, JCBA, we actually help out the community with their taxes. Our law academy does a lot of community service events.
We are educated. We are going to be educated.
And there is always a struggle in each student.
We can make a change, and I've seen it happen at our school.
People who actually have a plan to do something after high school, you know, not just, you know, oh my God, we finished high school, thank God that we barely passed, you know.
We are the leaders of tomorrow.
We're diverse, we're unique. Although we can be immature and, you know, loud, we're still learning. And yeah, we've had some negatives, but we're really working on that. And look at us right here. Like, we're trying our best, and we're working really hard to get to where we want to go.
I'm now ready for when I get out of high school. I've definitely noticed things that made me want to change the direction I'm headed. I came to my senses that not everyone is going to have a sports scholarship. That my mom told me that there's not just scholarships for sports. There's scholarships for anything, and that honestly changed my opinion.
So, thank you, students. I do have a statement to read, but I did want to tell you students something in the audience here. The teachers and the students and the staff of Hiram Johnson have made a significant gain and leap. It's not frequent that you have more than 1-2% raise in graduation rates, but the district has just learned that the Hiram Johnson students last year made a 7% graduation rate, which is astronomical. Yeah, it's an increase, thank you. Misspoke. Thank you. So I do have a statement to read, and I'd ask that the students go ahead, turn around and face the audience, and when I call your name, raise your hand so we can identify who's who. So the statement is, please allow me the honor of introducing the following stellar students from Hiram Johnson High School. Let's welcome Layla Basturo. And audience, if you can hold your applause till the end, that would be fantastic. Helen Dong. Janae Mark. I don't think Janae's with us here today. Yes, she is? Oh, Janae, okay. Melena Yang. Okay. William Frisbee. Fabio Hernandez. Fantastic students. So these students represent the very best of what a high school student should strive to be. They're student leaders in their chosen California Partnership Academies, excellent academic explorers on the pathway to college and/or career success, athletes in extracurricular activities, and good citizens helping revive the pride on their campus and in their community. These students were nominated by their teachers to participate in an amazing opportunity, meeting with Monica Woods from News 10 and giving their perspectives on issues facing teens today. Hiram Johnson is proud of these students, and Sacramento should be as well. This entire board, the superintendent, and especially myself is proud of the students the staff and the teachers of Hiram Johnson High School. And we'll take a quick picture. Moline. Leah?
Yes, thank you.
Helen?
Do what, like this?
Sorry. I'll be on this side. Thank you.
Congratulations to the Hiram Johnson students making positive change. Thank you for leading us in the pledge today. Item 5.0, announcements of actions taken in closed session.
Mr. Vice President, if I may, could we defer 5.0 until before public comment to allow the board president to come back to the room
More importantly, the superintendent. Okay,
and the superintendent?
moving on then to agenda adoption. I would entertain a motion that we open up this, adopt the agenda in memory of Miss Leah Tata Floyd. Mr. Chapman, would you come and join us, please? I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor of adopting the agenda in memory of Miss Leah Tata Floyd, please say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries. Mr. Chapman.
Good evening. Is this on?
The other one.
Oh, it's on. It's working.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Board, thank you very much for honoring us today with the passing of Leah Tata Floyd. As the principal of Leah Tata Floyd, it's humbling that she's been an angel on our wings since I started there. Rightfully, we decided to name the school after her. She used to live right across the street. She served our kids in so many myriad of ways. Her love, her giving. They say that altruism isn't really a thing, that we always subconsciously do things for the benefit of ourselves. Tata was the embodiment of altruism. She gave fully with all of her heart, and she loved our kids in a myriad of ways. She hated to hear in the news and the media that our children were at risk. She said, as long as we love and give to them in the ways that we do, they'll never be at risk. And in the Messiah, the African warriors of the Messiah always introduced each other. When they saw each other, this thing's not working. When they saw each other, they would say, how are the children? And Tata would always come to school and say, Chapman, how are the children? And as the Messiah always said, I would say, the children are good, Tata. And as I said to her service on Saturday, she'll always be with us. She lives in each and every one of our kids, our community, our families, and we will honor her by blessing the kids every day and doing all the amazing things that we do to serve them and give them a life of their choosing. So I'm honored that you're here, honored that you would dedicate some time to give a special. I want to do a special introduction and give Fafeo. This is Tata's oldest daughter. She's with us all the way from Samoa. Fafeo.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for honoring my mom. As amazing she was to you guys, she was that much more amazing to her kids. Her work will continue on. This is her right hand. This, like my sister. So she'll be running the program over at the school. This is Miss Jasmine Chand. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for honoring her. Thank you so much.
I'm going to exercise privilege of the chair and skip item 7 for the moment. We'll defer that, and we'll move on to public comment. Mr. Lopez, are there any public comment?
We have a number of public comments. Please come to the podium as your name is called. We have Damian Harmony, Cindy Ross, Eduardo De Leon, Richard Markison, and Kenya Martinez.
You good? All right. I'm Damian Harmony. I'm a teacher at John F. Kennedy High School in our district. I'm here tonight partly because you've blocked me from your Facebook for asking questions, quoting your budget, and then having the gall to screen cap and repost them when you removed them last year. So I'm here in person. You talk of shared sacrifice. Where were you for the last several years where I sacrificed salary for benefits year after year after year? It was about a decade between raises for me. You spent money that you took and spent it everywhere but my classroom. You talk about having laser focus, but you're tremendously myopic when it comes to what we've already offered. You have these theatrics in front of you with our name front and center. Well done. But the interesting thing is, we already have a benefits agreement that you signed in the presence of the mayor. Why not start with that? Your theatrics and optics to paint teachers as a villain, to create a wedge like this between the unions is unconscionable. And normally I would appeal to your shame, as I've done in the past, but clearly you have none. Your croniness and your willingness to play with my ability to care for my children, your willingness to be capricious with after-school programs that are inclusive for all kids and actually work on my campus, your choice to try to circumvent a legally binding contract, they don't help my students. You claim that you are cutting as far from the students as possible. I ask you to answer this honestly for once. How does it materially help my students when I have to take time away from them to provide care for my son and my daughter because it's cheaper for you that I lose benefits and hire a sub so that I can take care of my home and keep my kids in a stable environment so that I can then focus on my job? That is not keeping cuts away from my students. That is cutting directly to them. You're cutting into my time with them. You already have an agreement. Honor it.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cindy Ross. I am SEIU SCUSD Chapter Secretary. I'm here on...
Can you hold on one second? Are our microphones working? I'm not hearing Cindy very well.
Are they working now?
Perfect, thank you.
So I'm here just to speak on behalf of SEIU's canned food drive and non-perishable foods. So that is supporting members and their families that are struggling during the holidays. Some of our members and a lot of our extended families have been hosting their relatives from the recent areas that have been affected by fire, storms, and whatever that's happened for them. But also that those collection cans are here. They are at the Cerna Center. They are at Facilities and Maintenance. They are also at Transportation Department. Those cans are going to be picked up tomorrow. So I'm just encouraging everyone, as their needs may be, to bring in tomorrow a non-perishable food item and donate them for our families and support them. Thank you.
Cindy, can you remind me of how many pounds we got last year?
I do not have that figure in
So we'll
front of me.
hopefully get you more this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Superintendent Aguilar, President Ryan. My name is Eduardo De Leon. I am the academic director, and I'm here on behalf of 605 students and many families at the Language Academy of Sacramento. We're a K dual language Spanish immersion charter school authorized by Sac City Unified in 2004. I'm here to submit our letter of petition intent and our petitioner assurances and disclosures. Our intent is to deliver the required number of petitions and appendices on January 22nd between 8 and 12 to the superintendent's office. I wish you all a great holiday season and a relaxing break when it finally comes.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Good evening, board members. I'm Kenya Martinez. I'm a parent and I'm a member of the CAC, also a partner with the Gifts Foundation, and I am going to be talking to you about two topics. The first one is the bully prevention program that you have here at Sac City Unified School District. Last month, Jessica Wharton presented on bullying prevention. I had the opportunity to meet with her on Thursday, and actually bared witness to a girl being beaten at one of our schools and slammed to the floor, slammed to the ground. And because I believe that I had that meeting with her and I recognized that this was happening, I was able to report it to the school, and I'm happy to report that Jessica was able to take care of it, I believe. So I just want to reiterate the need for bully prevention, especially for our most vulnerable students, which are students with disabilities. The second topic that I wanted to bring up is I do have a student at Sacramento New Tech High School, and between August 13th up until the mid-November, we did not have an RSP teacher on staff, which means that our 17% population of students with disabilities went without minutes that they were allocated. So our students are owed minutes. Since that time, we've had a RSP teacher who is now working at the school, but our students are still owed those minutes. So I am asking the board to do their due diligence and the special education staff to do their due diligence to make sure that the students receive the minutes that are owed to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Naomi Roberts, and I'm a parent of a student at Sacramento New Technology High School, one of the smallest schools in the district. I am also here to just kind of bring to the record, public record, the non-compliances that exist at the school that have been, they are working on that, and parents have been patient. And it's become an issue to battle that ground once we do. I'm speaking into the disabilities of the children there. We do have a person that has been put in place for 1 month now, and yet those services for the children still are not being met. Also, the staff there, it is not just the IEP training for the principals that need to understand the IEPs, but is the understanding of the commitments of an IEP, and mostly what equality is for students with disabilities. That is missing. I would like that on the record, and we'd like you to respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have our board special assistant, Nathaniel Browning, get your contact information so we can follow up.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Richard Markison. I'm a parent of 2 city school graduates, a concerned taxpayer, and a resident of Area 6. I guess congratulations are in order for making some headway on your budget today. I'm not sure it's going to persuade the Sacramento County of Office Education that a gesture is going to be sufficient for your budget, but congratulations on some movement. I have another additional suggestion, one that will save the district tens of millions of dollars. You and some board members before you took explicit action that dramatically worsened the district finances by adopting a project labor agreement on all school construction and repair work. These PLAs add anywhere from 18 to 20% to the cost of construction, and this was all done under the careful guidance of their former chief lobbyist. If there's not a conflict of interest there, I'm not sure where it would arise. Now, I will admit certainly that canceling the PLA will not solve your general fund problems. But as you attempt to claw back wages and benefits from teachers and other staff that have already been approved by the district, canceling the PLA, in my opinion, will demonstrate a new financial maturity to the Sacramento County Office of Education and the taxpayers of Sacramento. The PLA is just one example of your failure to protect the district, which was painfully on display earlier this year when a district trustee appeared before the Sacramento City Council to encourage them to adopt the same wasteful, discriminatory agreement on city construction projects. Welcome to crony capitalism and waste.
Board President Ryan, we have 13 additional cards.
Okay.
Please come. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just want to make sure that I remind everyone, we'll hold you to your 2 minutes. We want to make sure that each one of you have an opportunity to speak.
Please come up as you hear your name. Tiara Phillips, Cecile Nunley, Bob Hams, Christy Wells-Artman, Naomi Roberts, Richard Owen, Danny McCord, Alan Dory, Tom Ferry, Jeff Yanez, Angel Lopez, Richard Kahn, and Bruce Boyer.
Good
I can
evening.
go?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so my daughter goes to Rosa Parks. As of today, Rosa Parks still has not had the meeting where we're supposed to discuss the budget. They said it's because the school board has not allowed them the money to have that meeting. Also, I have my daughter's IEP meeting, and I want to put this on the record so we can get that meeting started. I forgot the name off the top of my head.
About the school site council?
School site
Okay.
council meeting, yes. Also, on the record, I want to put my daughter's IEP. So I did have some questions about it, and Mr. Finley, to be exact, felt like it was okay for my child to be in the 7th grade reading at a 6th grade level. I mean, not a 6th grade level, at a 4/6th grade level, which is not acceptable. It would be okay if I wasn't an involved parent, but I am. And she's not getting that adequate help that she needs from Pony Express, and I need some help there. Also, I seen a video.
Can I just clarify? So you
Yeah.
said Rosa Parks
Rosa
at
Parks.
first, and you just said Pony Express.
I'm sorry, she used to go to Pony Express. I went through a lot with
Okay,
them.
we just wanna make sure
It
that
just
we
be
know
at the top of my mind. She goes to Rosa Park as of today. Also, I seen a meeting where they said the budget was being cut. And basically, we discussed the other day about SROs. And the teachers basically are being cut back. So if you guys don't renew the contract with the SROs and replace them with security guards, that'll give the school district more money to spend within the budget.
So what we would love to do is get your contact information, because there are a couple items clearly that you'd
Yes.
like us to follow up on. So I'm going to have Nathaniel Browning get your contact information. Your board member is Mai Vang, and we'll do our best to find out about the site council and the IEP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, Cecile.
Good evening, board members, and it's nice to be back. I was gone for vacation. I know you missed me the last board meeting, I'm sure. But I just want to say I am going to be back, and you can expect I still will be here. That hasn't changed, and it never will. Wanted to say congratulations to Trustee Wu on your reelection. I'm so glad that you'll still be here. And then what I also wanted to thank you for was that you guys have made a change and you are putting the suspension reports into the reports on a monthly basis. I think that's great. I've talked to Mr. Harris and maybe just some tweaks on some of the columns so that we'll have more information. And I think that's going to be great. The other thing I wanted to say, congratulations on the coalition that was formed tonight. I think that's great. I just hope it can be everyone, because I think that's going to be so critical moving forward. So congratulations, and I'm glad to be back.
Thank you so much, Cecile. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening, Board. I'm Bob Hamas with Making Sense Work, and I just wanted to sort of make a statement reminding the Board that our budget is changing continuously, and even though we're going to get a report tonight from the first interim those numbers are over a month old. So I want to thank the Budget Department for posting the Period 5 reports this week, and hope that practice continues moving forward. You know, it's always best to have the most current data and the most current information when you're trying to look at information, things that are going on, whether it's at a school site or with a specific resource. So we look forward to that practice continuing moving forward. As we're getting information about some of the bigger things that the board and the district is working on to attack this budget problem. We're hearing about the announcement tonight and some other issues moving forward with more cooperation between departments, looking to ways to save money. And at the other end of the spectrum, one issue that I'm still finding a lot of problems with is at the school sites, we've heard for a number of years about the acknowledgement that our school site councils and our ELACs are not really functioning like we'd like. And in visiting a number of school site councils this past month or two and also hearing secondhand reports, we're still seeing really no change or new movement in really developing good, clear, solid SIPSs and also having our ELACs being able to have the support and the resources they need to really help with our EL students at our schools. So I'm hoping that we'll see more movement on those issues as this year progresses.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Good evening, Board Member Ryan, Superintendent Aguilar, and esteemed board members. My name is Christy Wells Arman, proud principal at New Joseph Bonheim Community Charter and Agricultural Destination School. And I am here tonight to present the required petitions and appendices that are due on January 22nd between 8 a.m. and noon to the superintendent's office. And we are also submitting our letter of petition intent. And I wish you all a joyous holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
I think we had a block of 7. We won't take all that time, but I'd ask that you take our 7 and put them together.
Absolutely. We're happy to do that. Thank you.
And ask our principals to come up if you're here. There wasn't? Okay, and the other. Fantastic.
Very powerful. Thank you for all being here tonight.
President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Aguilar, my name is Richard Owen. I'm the Executive Director of UPE, speaking on UPE's behalf this evening, but also speaking on behalf of this LMC. We're back here again because we believe that the district is at a tipping point. And that's a very positive thing in many respects because we believe that we can tip it in the right direction. There's a need for us to tip this in a direction that re-engineers how we do labor management relations in this district. If we're going to serve 50,000 children correctly, we have to learn how to work together, do things together on behalf of children. Those 50,000 children are depending on us to get this right. So the grown folks have to stand up and have courageous conversations in order to do this. We've already committed to the superintendent and you, President Ryan, and other board members that we're willing to do the hard work and make the tough decisions to make this work for everybody. But we need all the players here, including SCTA. Now, we also will note that you did the superintendent's evaluation this evening. We realize that's a confidential matter, but at the same time, we'd like to express our unbridled support for this superintendent. One of the things that's most important right now in this district is to have the continuity in leadership for once. We cannot continue to have 4 or 5 superintendents in 6 years, each one coming in with a different personality, different initiatives, and that is why most of the employees end up just waiting superintendents out and not paying a lot of attention, simply because we change too often. So we support Superintendent Aguilar, his mission, his vision, what you set out to do, and we're going to stand with him on that. We're 100% behind him in that effort. Let me also say that we're here to talk a little bit to the public. We're in a situation now where if we don't get this right, we're on the verge of receivership. When you go into receivership, the state takes your district over, you lose your collective bargaining rights. Each labor partner doesn't have any authority. The superintendent loses his job and the board loses its authority. I have seen those situations before and it's not pretty. The reason we have boards and we vote for you is because we like local control. We lose that local control if we don't get this right. So in order for us to do this, we're all going to have to come to the table. This is a much better approach than us laying off people unnecessarily when we all can contribute to changing the paradigm as it relates to health care and pension costs to save everybody's employment in this district and therefore serve kids much better. So we're willing to do that. We encourage anybody that's not here to be a part of it. And we look forward to working with you very closely, with you, the board, and any other entity that you want us to work with. We're solidly behind you, and we want to do this right. So I'd like to invite Alan Dory up from Teamsters.
Thank you, Superintendent Aguilar, President Ryan, and distinguished board members. I'm Alan Dory with the Teamsters. I represent 2 of the bargaining groups here at this district. We want to sit there and say, look, first of all, we get the pain that the one teacher expressed. You know, he has a bargaining contract. Yeah, he has a collective bargaining agreement. So does every one of the other unions. And those go out the window if we go into receivership. Now, we can all have magical thinking and wait to see if Santa Claus comes down the chimney and gives us $49 million in our stocking, but I don't think that's going to happen. Every bargaining unit is going to suffer here. The teachers are going to suffer. They're going to get laid off. So wasn't my members, so wasn't SEIU. Teachers are going to have programs that they're doing now that they won't be able to do, which means the students lose things that matters. We have after-school programs for sports. We have arts. We have all kinds of things that keep the kids interested in staying in school so they can have a bright future. That's what our purpose is at this district or any district. We're on the verge of receivership. And as Rich said, look, you know, we could be fixing everything if all the bargaining partners work together, and 4 of the 5 are certainly loudly expressing that we support the superintendent and we want to work together with the district to find an ongoing solution, not just to fix this one with a Band-Aid. And we invite and continue to invite the 5th bargaining partner. People need to know just how serious we're in. My understanding is that if things aren't changed, we will run out of money in October of next year. We won't be able to make payroll. Now, the teachers are saying, that one teacher says, gee whiz, I've got a contract. Well, what's going to happen to his contract? Or the Teamster contracts, or the SEIU ones, or the UPE ones for the principals. There's a lot of misdirection going on in the press right now that some of the people are putting out there. They're talking about the vacation buyouts being a bad thing. Well, if I sit there and earn my vacation at $2 an hour 30 or 40 years ago and I cash it out at $25 an hour, that's bad business on the district's part for letting me to do it. And you guys finally corrected a bad thing, and now you're getting bad press for it. That's terrible. The second thing is they're talking about how you've increased the staffing in the administration. Well, if I move a $20 bill from my left pocket to my right pocket, I'm not $20 richer, and I'm sorry. When you move people from one department to another, it didn't sit there and change things. You just put a department under a different department. And again, the district is getting bad press. And all that does is lets members think that there's some kind of Santa Claus coming down the chimney and putting $49 million in their stocking. There's no room for magical thinking. And Teamsters wants to sit there and participate with our bargaining units. We're proud to be part of the Labor Management Collaborative with SEIU and UPE. I really hope that continues. Again, I want to tell the board, we as a group, especially Teamsters, are saying, listen, we want to support Superintendent Aguilar. You know, the teachers in the past and other unions have tried to sit there and wrestle with the future of our superintendents so that they do their bidding at the expense of the students or other bargaining groups. We need to sit there and keep a superintendent that's young and has vision, that wants to stick it out and ride this tough wave out with us, you know, and actually right this sinking ship. And we can do it. We have full confidence in Superintendent Aguilar. And I'd like to also introduce Nathan from SEIU.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent and Board. I'm actually excited, so I just want to say that. The first time SEIU assigned me here was 2012. My job at that point was to come in and help support the bargaining around layoffs. It was a horrible, horrible way to start my career with SEIU. I'm still here. This is different. This is different, and it's amazing. You have all your labor partners, with the exception of one, behind you, saying we can work together. We can fix this. We can do this without layoffs. We can do this without cuts to programs for students. We can save schools. We can educate. It's exciting. We're missing one group. That should not hold us back. That should not make us stop. Having been here in 2012 and having been here now, I can tell you that the superintendent is amazing. It's been a pleasure to work with the board and the superintendent to find what we need to find in order to make these savings. I'm not here to talk about losing a contract because I don't think we will. I think we have an opportunity. I think we need to seize the moment, and I think we're there. Look behind me. This is amazing. I hope the people at home are hearing this. I hope the people at home are just as excited as I am. Because in the press, it's been the school district's going to be taken over. The school district's going to shut down. The school district can't pay its bills. The school district's going to lay people off. And that's just not the reality right now. The reality is we have a golden moment. And so I hope the people at home that are watching this also realize that we have a golden moment and that they take action too. Call your teachers. Reach out to the teachers that are teaching your children and encourage them to come join us. There's no shame here. This is a beautiful thing. Nobody's losing anything. It's a change in healthcare, and not even a bad change, just a cost-saving change. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank the superintendent, and I want to thank the CBO, because he's been in our meetings, and he's actually a really cool guy. Don't tell him I said that. And I would just want to say that it's been an honor and a pleasure to actually partner with my labor partners and to partner with you to achieve the best that we can for Sacramento's children. Thank you so very much. I would like to call back up Richard.
Thank you.
And I have just a few closing comments with the remaining time, and I want to take the opportunity to thank, once again, Superintendent Aguilar, Dr. Quinto, and especially Concy over there, who has chaired our group and kept us together and done an amazing job. And she deserves a lot of credit for the way she handles herself and facilitates our group, and we appreciate it. The last two thoughts I had was, I want you to know, board members that don't have the background information on this initiative, this is not just about us coming together working around a budget. This is about us trying to change the culture of the district and the way that we do business. And that includes, by the way, and I have to be honest here, this district is still a very top-down district in many respects. It's not anybody's fault, but we need to change how decisions get made and who gets included in those decisions. And when you do that, you're going to find people like the ones that are behind you that are willing to follow and implement it 100% because they had something to say about how that decision was made. That goes for the Teamsters who have to install the windows and do things like that, and they watch the district make very poor decisions about purchasing and things of that nature. They want to be included in that decision making, and this LCM, as it's done in other districts, actually facilitates that and is a problem-solving mechanism for the district. So you've got to love this. I know we do, and we're very inspired by it. But so far, we've talked about what we're willing to do. What we haven't talked about is what we need from the board. And that's very important. We invited a couple of board members. Member Pritchett, Member Wu was on the phone, and of course, President Ryan was with us today. We need the board to be fair across the board to all labor groups. I represent UPE, but we're big champions for classified too. We can't run these schools without classified staff. We need people that are going to feed the children and clean the schools and fix the air conditioning system. We need high quality teachers. We support our teachers as well. But it takes this whole village, this entire ecosystem working at high efficiency in order to get this done. But if we have board members going rogue, making individual statements or saying things that favor one labor partner over another, that's going to destroy this process. We need it to be equal across the board, and we're all willing to be a part of that conversation, but we need the board to stick together with the superintendent, and I'm speaking to new board members that are coming on if you're listening. We have to be together on this, and we have to support it, but we don't need board members deciding who gave them the most money for election or whatever, and then making their decisions based on that, because that will destroy this coalition, and in effect, that will destroy the work that we're doing now. So I want to thank you for the time we have with you this evening, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your hard work.
And I see there is 1 minute and 12 seconds left. So with that time, I would like to, if I may, wish our chapter president, Carla Fawcett, a very happy birthday. Today is her birthday.
Happy birthday, Carla. It shows your total commitment being here tonight. I wish we had a cake, but we can offer you some canned food. Happy birthday. So we moved the agenda out of order to accommodate a few items. So we're going to be moving back to item 5.0, announcement of action taken in closed session.
I have none, Madam President, but you do.
Yes. In closed session this evening, we did our annual evaluation of the superintendent. I am pleased to announce that we had a positive evaluation of exemplary performance for Superintendent Jorge A. Aguilar, unanimous support with Board Member Hanson absent. Superintendent Aguilar, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Thank you.
Excuse me, we do have a public comment, I apologize. Of Mike Breverly on 5.0, correct? Apologize.
Board members, Board President Ryan, Superintendent Aguilar, like the rest of them said, this gentleman has worked together with all of us, all the unions, to accomplish a lot in this district. In my 30 years of working for this district, I've seen roughly 26 superintendents go through. Okay, a lot of them were interim. Nobody's staying. Like I've explained,
Mike, hold on one second. I think what you're saying is really important. If we can have silence from the back of the room and ask for any conversations to move outside, we want to make sure that we can hear Mike. Thank you.
thank you. And like I say, in the 30 years, roughly 26 superintendents, a lot of them were interim. Nobody stays. Like I explained to the new CBO and Superintendent Aguilar, every time we educate them on what happens in this district and what needs to be done, all of a sudden they disappear. They move on somewhere else. This gentleman has said he's here to stay. So has Dr. John, said the same thing. And I have faith in them that they will stay here and they will help us get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments, Mike. Superintendent Aguilar?
Thank you, President Ryan and members of the board, as well as those of you who are in the audience. I want to just express my deepest gratitude for the opportunity to serve Sac City Unified. I am as honored today as I felt on May 4th when the board approved my appointment to be superintendent of Sac City Unified. And I remember very vividly that I stated then that I felt like I was marrying Sacramento, and I'm happy that this marriage will continue into the future. It is something that in every high-performing district, it has been proven that longevity and stability and unity will result in increased student achievement. And I am very clear that that is what the board has demanded and demanded from day one. I am very proud that coincidentally today, the California School Dashboard data were released. And when the board offered me the position, they were very clear that we had to do something to increase graduation rates. And with your support and the wonderful work across all of our sites, every single one of our employees being intentional about a goal, our graduation rate today was released at 85.9%, above the statewide rate of 83.1%. And as I've been told, that is the first time in several years that we have exceeded that And we should attribute that to the wonderful work that's taking place in every one of our classrooms by teachers, by counselors, by custodians, by bus drivers. We ought to take and continue to take a very broad definition of what it's going to take to make sure that our students' needs are met. Finally, I will say that we have a lot of challenges ahead of ourselves, and I am, as Nathan said, deeply motivated and inspired by the opportunities that are ahead of us as a community. I often say and will continue to say that every morning when I get up, I think of myself first as a member of this community, as a Sacramentan, and then as superintendent, as father, as husband. But I do want to sincerely thank you personally and on behalf of my family for the great opportunity, an opportunity of a lifetime to serve Sacramento City and serve you as your employee. Thank you very much. I do want to mention that given some of the challenges, particularly related to budget, I have informed our board president and our entire board that I will be deferring the salary increase that accompanies that positive evaluation until our budget improves.
Thank you, Superintendent Aguilar. We appreciate your commitment to our district. Move. Moving on to item 7.0, our special presentation. Item 7.1, recognition of and comments by outgoing board members. This evening, I have the honor of recognizing our outgoing board member, Ellen Cochran, who was, as I have been told by some of her peers, one of the most remarkable educators and teachers while she was a classroom teacher, and as I have often said, was among the hardest working board members that I have had the privilege to serve with. We are very sad to see Ellen move on to her next endeavors, but have a tremendous amount of gratitude for the time that she spent with us on the board. And I do want to say, because few people know this, after her first year on the board, Ellen joined me on the board at the same time. She determined that she could not give to her schools in her area at the level that she would want to if she continued to carry employment. And so Ellen made the difficult decision to step away from teaching, which I know she loves deeply, so that she could serve her schools. And she did it tirelessly during her time on the board. Ellen, we're so grateful for your service, and I have the opportunity to present you tonight with an apple in recognition of the 4 years that you put into public service as a member of the Board of Education. At this time, we will take public comments and then comments from board members.
No public comments on this item.
Board member comments. Board member Minnick.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank Member Cochran for her leadership and advocacy for not just the kids in the area you represent, but all the kids in this district. I know that when I first came on the board, we bonded over Hiram Johnson as the school that you represented, and as a school where many of the students live in the area I represented. And I've been really thankful to have the opportunity to work on supporting Hiram Johnson with you, and I've really appreciated the work you've done. You have continually made decisions that you believed were in the best interest of the kids first, and I really appreciate that. I've appreciated the value of our shared decision-making and having someone with the experience as a K-12 classroom teacher on the board. I feel like that was a really useful skill, experience to have with us, and I've really appreciated that. I also have appreciated that you have taken risks and you always say and vote in the way that aligns with your values. And sometimes that meant that you were a lone vote up here. And I have always really appreciated that because that takes a lot of guts to say like, this is what I stand for, and I feel strongly about this is what's in the best interest of our kids. So I have really admired that. I've really enjoyed our time together. I am also going to be really sad to not have you up here with us. But I know you're continuing on to do amazing things, and I know our community is lucky to have you. So thank you.
Vice President Wu.
Thank you, Member Cochran, for your dedicated service. Oftentimes, we might have stood on opposite sides of a particular issue, but I really value, and I want you to know that I valued your position and the way you presented it, because it was always well thought out as well as being heartfelt. So while we sometimes didn't agree, I don't always agree with anybody, actually. I just want you to know that I appreciated the dialogue that we had, and that especially these last few years that I have served with you on the variety of committees, you've really rolled up your sleeves and really pitched in with 110%. So I appreciate that.
Board Member Vang.
Ellen, I just want to say, I'm going to miss you, serving alongside you. And I just want to say you have an unwavering commitment to our students and neighborhood schools. And yeah, during the 2.5, 3 years that I've been here, your insight as a public school teacher has been so important in closed session and in open session. You've always asked the really hard questions. It's been an honor serving alongside you. And I have to say, the outcomes on the dashboard came out today, and I have to give a shout out to you, because I really do believe that had it not been you as the advocate representing Hiram Johnson, we may not have gotten that 7% increase. And so I want to publicly just say this, that I am so proud of the work that you've done, your advocacy for all of our students, and specifically our Hiram Johnson students. So thank you, and I'm going to miss serving. I'm going to be miss serving alongside you. But I have your cell phone, so I know how to contact you. You're not too far away. But thank you so much for an incredible 4 years.
Board Member Pritchett.
Member Cochran, being a board member is a lonely place sometimes. It's really hard work. And I know I've said many times that I view our board as a puzzle, and you are definitely been a piece of that puzzle. Having the expertise of being a teacher, you've enlightened us on certain subjects. You have definitely sacrificed a lot. I've had the pleasure of sitting on committees with you, and my other colleagues are correct. You really do roll up your sleeves, and you do work really hard. And we may not have always agreed, but it's okay to disagree. That's why we're here, right? So we can work together. I really appreciated the work that you did on this board. And I think that especially the work that we've seen at Hiram Johnson with the graduation rates, a wonderful principal, the field that is now there, and the pride that's coming out of that school, you have a lot to be proud of. And I hope that you carry that with you.
Student Board Member Halpo.
Right. Thank you for your dedication to our students. As my area representative, I'm so glad to have been represented by such a strong woman who advocates for what she believes in. Thank you for your work in our district. You will be missed. Good luck in all future endeavors.
Thank you. Superintendent Aguilar.
Thank you, President Ryan. Member Cochran, I too want to thank you for your commitment to Sac City Unified. You were very clear in your expectations to make sure that whatever we meant by advancing equity, access, and social justice, that there would be a focus on your community and in particular at Hiram Johnson High School. I want to thank you because on that day that I was appointed by you and the rest of the board, you made it a point to make sure that I spent time with you at Hiram Johnson High School, and we have great memories of meeting students, one in particular that you have continued to mentor. So I've seen the commitment that you have, not just for all students, but for individual students, and what you've been willing to do for those individual students. I suspect that we will continue to see articles authored by you. I know that you have told me to expect grants that are co-authored by you to ensure that we receive funding to benefit Sac City Unified. And I know that you're too humble and too modest and thought that our community should know that that is the extent of your commitment to Sac City Unified. So I appreciate some of those memories and look forward to continuing to see the work that you do in the next phase of your life.
Board Member Cochran, do you have anything you would like to say?
Well, as superintendent, you know, I am a writer, but I've made a very serious decision. I am not going to write a tell-all about the school board. I think. I really don't have many words to say except that this is a culmination. I taught for 20 years in the classroom, and I served on the school board for 4. And this is a door silently closing behind me with a snick as I go forward, because I probably will not be actively involved in education issues, but this is something that will always be close to my heart. And I do plan to help with the skills that I do have to see if we can get some more money coming over to the district. So I want to say thank you for all your kind comments. I know I'll see all of you, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Well, I just want us all to give you a round of applause. Thank you. And as we move on to our next item, I will say that my late mother, who was the truest judge of character, upon meeting Ellen Cochran said, "Now that is a woman I would follow anywhere." Item 7.2, approve resolution number 3045 for air quality monitoring and guidance. I am looking for that resolution. I don't know where it is in front of me. This resolution came to be because of the Camp Fire. As many of you know, when the Camp Fire resulted in extremely poor air quality in the Sacramento region, unfortunately, there was no playbook by which to judge when to close schools due to hazardous air. And so for that reason, we are moving forward with a resolution to outline some strategic guidance and next steps for ensuring that we don't find ourselves in a similar predicament moving forward. In particular, we know that scientists have warned that with climate change, we will continue to experience fires across the state of California. And we know that our school districts surrounding the Sacramento area are looking to us to see what we will do in the face of similar challenges. Both the superintendent and I were contacted by multiple districts, multiple boards, and we are committed to developing a policy that ensures that we have in place the right practices and protocols moving forward. And so I will just read a couple quick sections of our board resolution. Whereas smoke from the recent Camp Fire caused Northern California to have the poorest outdoor air quality in the world, according to the Air Quality Monitoring Network Purple Air. And whereas very unhealthy and hazardous air quality was reported on multiple days within Sacramento City Unified School District boundaries during the week of November 12th, 2018. And whereas particulate matter can have grave effects on the lungs, heart, and immune system, and research finds that children, older adults, individuals with certain health conditions, and communities with low socioeconomic status are most affected by poor air quality. Whereas Sac City Unified knows that there is little knowledge of filtered air shelters that could be provided to families when school was not in session in order to safeguard students and families from hazardous air quality. We are now, therefore, resolving that the Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education does hereby urgently request that a board policy be developed that will provide the necessary direction to staff and families as to when school should be canceled based on outdoor as well as indoor air quality. The policy shall require staff to pursue grant funding and will necessitate that we work in partnership with entities like the California Department of Education. Be it further resolved, SCUSD shall work with neighboring districts and education and health agencies to develop and promote the policy and related resources in order to safeguard our students and communities against the negative health impacts of very unhealthy and hazardous air quality. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. A student board member preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 9.0, Board Workshop Strategic Plan and Other Initiatives. 9.1, the Independent Audit Report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, submitted by Crow LLP and presented alongside Dr. John Quinto.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Aguilar. I'm proud to also present our team, Karen Riker, our independent auditor, and Ms. Amari Watkins, who oversaw the process of our audit. And here to present our audit is Matt I struggle with your last name, sir. Netherway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for allowing me a few moments of your time to share the audit report. It's a very in-depth report, and there's a lot of pages to it, so I want to try and draw your attention to some of the pages that I think are most relevant for your consideration. As a quick reminder, the district is required annually to have an audit. That audit is a look back at the financial statements as of June 30th, 2018, and we're auditing the transactions and the financial information contained in those financial statements. It also includes an audit of federal and state compliance. And if you would, I direct your attention to page 99 of the report. 99 is a good summary of the three main areas that I just brought to your attention. And I want to highlight some of the areas there. So under the financial statements, you'll see that we issued an unmodified audit opinion. We have indicated that the financial statements are fairly presented. You'll also see that there were no significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, or non-compliance that we noted in our audit of the financial statements. The next section is federal awards, and again, you will see that there were no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or compliance issues noted during the audit, and we issued unmodified opinions on federal compliance. Finally, at the bottom, you see state awards, and I do want to just highlight a couple of items for you. The report is qualified, but the reason is because the state, through the audit guide, requires that anything that the auditors find in relation to the work that they do be reported in the audit report. So there are a couple of areas in the audit report, a couple of very minor items that you'll see in the findings section. For example, we found one student was misclassified for attendance purposes at one site, and because of that, we had to report that in the audit report. I think you would agree from a severity standpoint, from a district practice and process standpoint, that it's important, but clearly not a very high level of severity from an audit perspective. You also see that there's one other item in there related to another compliance area, and again, if you look through that and read through that finding, again, you'll see that there was a very small impact of that, and from an auditor perspective, something that is, again, from a severity standpoint, on a very low level. I will tell you that we also have some findings and recommendations or areas of improvement associated with Associated Student Body. Those items were not required from again, an accounting standpoint, an auditing standpoint, to be a material weakness or significant deficiency. But those are really provided as a tool, as an opportunity for management and the team to work together to enhance those internal control policies. One last thing that I wanted to call to your attention, and it's kind of scattered throughout the report, but I'll draw your attention to page 57. There's a new footnote in your financial statements, and it has to do with a new accounting standard that was required to be adopted in the current period. You may have heard a little bit about that through your networks, but that was for GASB 75, which was the other post-employment benefit liability standard. What that required was a change from the old accounting practices. The old accounting practices required you to get an actuarial valuation of what that liability was, but it only required a portion of that to be booked into your financial statements as a liability. The new standard, which you were required to adopt in the current period, required that the entire balance of that actuarial projected liability be included in your financial statements. And I draw your attention to page 57 because there's some very specific information in relation to what that looks like for Sac City Unified School District. Again, at the top of the page, I will point out that the total OPEB liability changed from the old number, which was about 300 billion, increased by 525 million at the beginning of the year, and that went to 832 million. And again, this shows you also the assets that you have established in relation to that. And then it finally shows you what the net impact is on the financial statement. So that far right-hand column, the 725 million, that's the liability that was required to be booked into the financial statements at the end of the accounting period, and what's reflected here in this audit report. I'll just close my remarks by also letting you know that we had no audit adjustments in the work that we've performed. The audit is really meant to help bring credibility to the financial statements themselves, again, to that historical information. But from a credibility standpoint, the lack of adjustments, the lack of significant deficiencies or material weaknesses also speaks very highly to the credibility of the financial information that your team is providing to you throughout the year that you're using to make decisions on for the district.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
I want to thank you for your work. I will open it up to board member questions and comments. I do want to acknowledge that the errors that were found were negligible. I appreciate that you point that out, the modesty of the errors that were found, given the scope of work that you were asked to undertake. I think that that should instill tremendous confidence in our financial team and the safeguards that the district has put in place. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, this is just an information item. Thank you. We appreciate your presence tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Item 9.2, approve the 2018-19 first interim financial report.
Again, good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Aguilar. I'd also like to give credit to our financial leaders, finance team, Gloria Chung and Amari. It's them and their team that do all the work, and it's very much appreciated. And there's a young lady in the audience, Miss Terry Ryland, our fiscal advisor, who helps guidance and review our numbers for us. So thank you, Terry.
Thank you for all your hard work, Ms. Ryland. We appreciate it.
So here to present your our first interim financial report. At least I thought I was. Is there a trick to this?
We're having some technical difficulties. I do have the packet in front of me, as does the board. So should the slides be unable to advance, we have them in front of us. Perfect.
We found the issue. It was the operator. Thank you for that. Overview would be we're going to look at the formal budget process and certification review. We'll go through the first interim summary. We'll also do what we call an MYP, or your multi-year projection. We're going to look at enrollment and our ADA analysis, our fiscal condition, and I'll end with a summary. So just to give us an understanding of the formal budget process, we go through adoption of a budget July 1st. At October 31st, we do what they call a financial report. It is the status of our financial over finance at that time. There's a second interim budget that comes later on in March. And that's just our way of letting the county know. This came about by AB 1200, letting the county know that we're doing well moving forward. With that, we actually certify the budget positive, qualified, or negative. A positive certification is one that you're able to meet all your financial obligations for this and the subsequent 2 years. A qualified certification is one where we may not meet our financial obligation for the current fiscal year or subsequent 2 years. And a negative certification says we will be unable to meet our financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year or the subsequent fiscal year. So our first interim financial report, revenues are slightly up due to restricted dollars. Our expenditures are down, reflecting budget reductions that we have been going through, but they still exceed our revenues. I think that's a nice note. So they still exceed our revenues. Enrollment has been declining for the last 5 years, and we'll show you something on that as well. So looking at our total general fund revenue, our unrestricted and restricted, our budget is $529 million. As you can see, our local control funding formula is 75% of that. And our restricted or federal money is about $56 million. We were reconciling to our October 4th, so we brought a budget to the board on October 4th. And so I think it's good that we come back and show you what we call the variance, the differences between what we presented to you on October 4th and our first interim. So as you see, our revenue for LCFS sources are up about $580,000. Our federal revenue is up $1.8 million, which accounts for most of the revenue that you see on the bottom there of $2.3 million. Our revenues are slightly up, but mainly due to our federal revenue. One of the things I'd like to point out are the contributions. The contributions, those are money that the general fund supports to another program in our system. So what makes up the $89 million would be our students with special needs. We call it SPED. So we will transfer out about $73.5 million to that program to support those students. And the remainder of it is our routine restricted maintenance. And later on, I'll have Ms. Allen talk a little bit about what that is. One of our unrestricted expenditure general funds, as you can see, is $349 million, but I wanted to point out that on October 4th, when we came to the board, we gave you that our salary and benefits were 89%. That has increased to 91%.
And Dr. Quinto, we are going to, given how critical this conversation is, do things a little differently tonight. Rather than hold questions and comments from board members, we are going to, as you go through these vital slides, stop you to ask some clarifying comments and questions. And I'm going to go ahead and begin because this is an area where I have tremendous interest because what you just shared with us is that when we last heard from you, we were being told that 89% of our unrestricted expenditures were going for benefits, and we're now at 91%. Can you explain the difference between where we were and where we are now, why that exists?
Yes. It comes about that we didn't see any salary increases. What we're seeing is the hard work that the team is doing with the support of the superintendent identifying savings and reductions. So if you look at operational expense, capital, books and supplies, those are all cuts away from the classrooms that are decreasing the pie, so to speak. And so what that does is it raises the salary and benefits percentage.
So what you're saying is that the cuts that we made has actually raised the percentage of our overall expenditures in salary and benefits by 2%.
Correct.
Okay, so that's helpful. How does that compare to other districts in the region? That 91% expenditure?
I don't have the support of any documentation for the region, but I can speak to the state. Recent information from school services and FICMAT show the state average in 16-17 to be about 85%. We are 6 percentage points above that.
And I believe we're significantly higher than all of our neighboring districts in the state. I'm looking at Ms. Ryland because I know that you presented a slide a while back on that. So I won't ask you to speak to that right now, but I definitely would like to have that information moving forward. Thank you. Dr. Hinta, go ahead.
This is our unrestricted expenditure changes from October 4th. Again, here you're seeing the salary and benefits. We went through, these are some reductions and not filling of positions. This is actually a deliberate action taken on part of the superintendent for reduction in staff in the central office, and the result of us not filling positions, and also what I would term true up. So there is it's best practice to go through at first interim if you have an unfilled position to take away, said another way, to make sure that it's budgeted, if you're going to fill that position, that it be filled with the right budget from October to June instead of the entire year. So we reconcile that. So it's those three things that are happening that reduced our salaries and benefits $5 million.
Dr. Quinto, if you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
please pause for a second. We have a question from Vice President Minnick.
Sorry. Yeah, I just to clarify, when you talked about the truing up those positions, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly and that we all understand correctly. What you're saying is we're freeing up those funds that were set aside for those positions, but those positions were never filled, correct? So that money, rather than being kind of held for those positions that we don't maybe intend to fill, it opened that up and provide us with more funding available. Is that correct?
Yes, and to elaborate further on that, Board Member Minnick, this is going to be a one-time cost or one-time savings. One of the things we found in our system was that we didn't have proper oversight and communication with our team member over Wisconsin Human Resources. So there needs to be a monthly reconciling of the positions that we're actively seeking and what is in our system. And so that wasn't done before. So we have now corrected that, and moving forward, we will have one of Gloria's team oversee that so that we don't create a scenario where we're seeing these kinds of savings.
Okay, so as we go forward, it sounds like what you're saying is then each month we'll find out what positions were actually filled and which were not, so that way we don't wait 6 months and find out we have all this unspent money that we could have been putting toward other uses. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
So given that, I mean, this is a significant amount of savings that we're finding in vacancies that will no longer result in positions that will be filled at a date determined. What does that mean for the district? I'm really interested from a staffing perspective what that will mean.
I think for us, it brings effectiveness and efficiencies into play. We have a new hiring process. It was 15 steps long, and frankly, was rather cumbersome. It's now 5 steps. So as we look, and we're told to look through the lens of continuous improvement, so we've gone from 15-step process to a 5, and that'll help us better support our school sites. In terms of the impact, I think that depending on the positions, I'm not the expert to be able to stand in front of you to know what impact that would have on our school sites.
But I think it would be safe to say we are fairly lean at the central office where most of these cuts have come from already, and this will mean that we will be even leaner in terms of the staffing?
In, later on in the presentation, we'll actually present you those values of how lean we are.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Quinto. Board Member Vang?
Position that remain unfilled. Do we have a list of those positions, and are they majority from the central office or at school site?
Yes, we do.
Okay, is it possible you could share that follow-up to the board and to the public as well? Because at one point, there was someone in the district that probably thought we need this position, right? And so my concern is now that we're not going to fill it, it may impact our students in different ways or our school sites. And so it would be important for me to know the list of those positions that we have eliminated. That would be really important if we can get that information.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's a great question. Just as a reminder for all board members, please feel free to ask questions. Just light up your switch so that I know how to call you in order. Thank you.
So as we're giving you the variance report, you'll see that the hard work done by the superintendent and his team, we've been able to reduce the budget $12 million. Looking at the expenditures in terms of a pie, you could, for restricted, you can see that the salary and benefits is 61%, operational expenses at 24% or $50 million. This is just to keep you informed of what our restricted dollar expenditures are, $209 million. The one thing that I do like to see, it's a budgeting philosophy to try to use grant or restricted funds first before you go to your unrestricted funds. So what is nice about this slide is you're seeing an increase in the expenditures on the restricted side of the budget, which means we're not using unrestricted dollars, which we have found, so we're switching some things over from that. Looking at the expenditures by general fund, and this goes to your question earlier, President Ryan. We have our total instructional support is $424 million. And our general administration is 4%. If you recall, on October 4th, we brought to you information that we were at 4.39%. The average around our sister school districts is 5.71. So again, with the deliberate reductions that the superintendent is making in the central office and the reduction in expenses, we have proud to announce that we are now at 4% at first interim.
So I'm just going to have you pause there for a second and see if board members have any questions. So to make sense of this chart that I'm looking at, Sac City Unified is at 4.39%, in part as a result of the reductions, but we were in the 4% range anyway. And our neighboring districts, including Elk Grove Unified, which is a larger school district in sheer numbers, is at 5.74%, with the average being 5.7. So I'm reading this correctly?
Correct. The average for all the school districts is 5.71.
So we are now, in fact, the leanest in the area for these 5 districts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What I'd like to do at this time is transition to multi-year projections. And there are some assumptions I want you to keep in mind. When we build a budget, you have to look at ADA, average daily attendance, unduplicated count. And so there's some things that, there are some items and values, assumptions that I'd like you to keep in mind as I go through this that are very much, I think, needed to be told to our team. So our assumptions for revenue, we use average daily attendance. They usually, what they call P2s. There's a point in time later on in the spring where we get what they call our P2 number, or our average daily attendance. So it's always good to understand what your average daily attendance number is and how you use that, because that's how you build your budget. The LCFF funding increase, we also did an increase due to COLA in our multi-year projections. So what I need your takeaway here is that the COLA being applied in 1920 amounts to $9 million and $8.8 million in fiscal year 2021. In 1819, we received one-time monies per student. That has been removed in 1920 and the outgoing years. Lottery projections, we get unrestricted and restricted lottery. We're receiving $151 per ADA for unrestricted, $53 for restricted. Some expenditure assumptions. I think that it's important to note, we talk about step and column, and I trying to explain that that is not easy, so we felt that bringing a chart to show exactly how that's run or how it is brought about would be the best way. So what you're looking at is a step and column chart for our SETA folks. And if you look at step 4, that's $51,869. Step and column would mean that after 1 year or longevity, on July 1st, you go from $51,869 to $54,370. So that's a step. A column would be you were BA 75 or an MA 24, and now you're a BA 90, so you've moved over a column. So again, that's step and column. So our employees every year get step and or column. Not always column, but almost always step, unless you're at the very end. That calculation, when you look at step and column for us, is about $4.6 million a year.
So that's, Dr. Quinto, separate from the negotiated salary increases.
I would argue that this is also negotiated. The step and column is a negotiated document.
It's a negotiated document, but you achieve a step and column increase annually.
Yes.
Irrespective of additional salary increases.
Correct.
That are negotiated.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So with expenditures, assumptions, hopefully the step and column, when you hear that, you'll remember how that works. STRS and PERS increases, we're seeing a $4 million increase in 1920 and a $2.5 million increase in 2021. For PERS, it's 1.78 in 1920 and 1.79 in 2021. So you're seeing in 1920, just for STRS and PERS increase, almost $6 million that is mandated. It's something we can't control. Health benefits are projected to increase 4.7% each year. Utilities are also projected to increase. We have an energy manager that we run some assumptions by to get those numbers. Contributions to routine restricted maintenance. Routine restricted maintenance was flexed back in 2007 and 8. It was EDCO that you had to fully fund it at 3% of your general fund. When we went through economic uncertainty, they allowed districts to flex. It is back into play starting next year, so it needs to be fully funded. So we're adding an additional $4 million or a total of 16 for routine restricted maintenance. And I wanted just to make sure, Ms. Allen, do you mind explaining routine restricted maintenance and what those funds are used for, ma'am?
So the funding obviously comes from within the general fund, and they are for the exclusive purpose of providing money for what they call ongoing and major maintenance. So those are the two kind of terms, ongoing and major, that we focus on when we are spending our R&M money.
Board Member Minnick?
I'm sorry, Miss Allen, could you give an example of what that means? Like what would be something that would fit into that category?
So basically, it's everything the maintenance staff does 365 days a year. That's either ongoing or it's major maintenance. Maybe the difference that you might think about would be deferred maintenance. So we also used to have a deferred maintenance account that was partially funded by the state, partially matched by local school district funds. That also went away in 2013. So we no longer receive deferred maintenance funding from the state. Deferred maintenance funding would be used for the larger things, like if an HVAC unit or an air conditioning unit completely breaks, falls down, et cetera. That is a deferred maintenance project where we would normally code that under that particular fund. The maintaining of that air conditioning unit until it does fail would be the ongoing and major maintenance.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Contributions to special education have increased over the years, and we are looking to project that at $9 million for each year. For fiscal year 2019, one-time expenditures, like I said earlier, were removed. One of the things.
Board Member Minnick?
I'm clicking my light too often, sorry. If we could go back, yeah, that one. The second to the last bullet around special education increased costs. I want to identify that specifically because I know we have members in the audience from the Community Advisory Committee, and I want to make sure they're aware. So these increased special ed costs, that is, am I correct that these are just to maintain our current special ed programs and supports, correct? This is not any sort of additional work that's coming out of the audit that we had and all the changes that we need to implement that are going to be expensive in and of themselves. These are just to maintain our current status. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, because it's a lot, and the cost to those things that are coming up in the audit are, you know, quite a bit more. So this is just to maintain the status we're at. I want to make sure that the folks, I see them in the back from the community advisory, know that this is just to stay where we are. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and the only thing I would want to add is the superintendent and I have begun to have conversations with key members about this issue. You know, it is a moral imperative for us to be able to serve our special education students. We have to do better by that, and we know that we are not receiving adequate revenue to be able to fully meet their needs and certainly our expenditures. And so we have had conversations with Senator Pan, who sits on the Senate Ed Committee, as well as Assemblymember Kevin McCarty, who sits on the Budget Subcommittee. And I believe that those conversations will continue, and that this is not an issue that is unique to Sac City Unified, but an issue that must be addressed.
I'd like to thank Ms. Ryland for this very compelling slide. This is a mandated cost. If you look at 2013-14, STRS was 8.25%. If we had stayed on that line, we probably wouldn't be having that conversation today, but you could see that the increases are going to be 3 times what they were in 2013-14. And those are costs that will come right out of our general fund. PERS is the same way. If you look at the funding that was in 13-14, it was 11.44%. It's estimated at 2024-25 that it too will be 3 times the cost of what it was in 13-14. Those are the assumptions that go into what we call our multi-year projection. So as we look at our revenues and other resources, you will see that in 1920 and 2021, we see a reduction in revenues. So again, declining enrollment, one-time funds not coming for that particular side. The budgeted expenditures and transfers out ran pretty stable. You can see the net change for fund balance, the reserve for economic uncertainty, but I think the biggest thing here is that our anticipated unappropriated balance. So if you notice in 1920, we still got some work to do. We got to find $16 million. And I was very encouraged tonight to see the LMC before us leaning forward, because we're gonna need some help there. And then you can see in fiscal year 2021, with what that number is there, and that's $67 million. One of the ways.
Board Member Wu has a question.
Dr. Quinto, as I'm trying to wrap my arms around all these numbers, I go back to the slide that in terms of increased revenue, you mentioned that we're going to get in 1920 another $9 million in LCFF revenues, and reduced down to $8.8 million. But that's all COLA money, right?
Yes, sir.
And so if we look at the next page, which was your expenditures, simply step and column of 4.6 increase, STRS and PERS increases another $6 million. We've already exceeded the additional amounts of money that we're going to be getting for cost of living adjustment for LCFF, right?
It's very astute, Member Wu, yes.
Last time I looked, and my wife has confirmed this, I don't get to print money. So I'm looking forward to the remainder of this, because now we're coming into the hard part of the discussion.
Well, and to your point, we just happen to have our future revenues that does depict, if you look at 2018-19, our per student, we get $627. But if you look, as you pointed out, our special education, step and column, PERS and STRS and health benefits, it's $635. So our expenses in those major areas is outpacing our revenue. If you look at 1920, you could see that picture as well. We're going to receive an extra $223 per student, while those expenses it will grow $557. And then in 2021, you'll see an increase of $220 a student, and the increase in expenditure is $603.
Thank you.
So cash flow projections, cash is king. One of the things that the team spent a lot of time combing through, making sure it's right. Our cash flow shows us being depleted in November of 2019. When we brought you that cash flow report in October 4th, it was in October that we'd run out. With the great work we've done trying to reduce cuts, we've pushed that a month. So now it's November of 2019. Typically, I have some options available to me to bring forward as recommendations. I can say, we can go get a TRAN or a tax revenue anticipatory note. I could also go borrow from the county during some times where we're low. But those options won't be available to us because we don't have a guarantee that we can repay what we've borrowed. So I can't hit home hard enough that if we run out of money in November, we will become fiscally insolvent and we will go into state intervention. So again, seeing the LMC coming forward, leaning forward, that was awesome. This is a picture of our cash flow. So if you notice at the beginning of July of 18, you can see how we're slowly depleting our reserve. We average about $45 million a month in accounts payable, 45 million. So as we go through the months, it shows us running out of cash in November of 19. The little green blip there that you see in January 20, that's our property taxes, but then we eat that up the next month. Our fiscal condition, because we will be unable to meet our financial obligations in the subsequent years, we are a negative certification on our budget. So what are the implications from that? It means that we're not going to meet our financial obligations in the subsequent years. Sacramento Office of Education has appointed us a fiscal advisor. SCOE has stay and rescind authorization. And we, the board, must also approve a timeline for achieving fiscal stability to SCOE by December 15th.
So Dr. Kinto, can we stop here for a moment? So what you're saying is that despite the fact that we have made tremendous effort to find savings without making unilateral cuts across the district, we are in a position of negative certification. So that means not that our budget is disapproved, but that we are going to have to continue to work to achieve the savings. Can you clarify?
Yes, the first interim and second interim reports is your finances, if you will. And you need to certify if it's positive, qualified, or negative. There is no disapproval of it. It goes to the county and they review your financial report and they either concur or they adjust.
So we will continue to work with the county because while we have the resources to operate this year, even with the additional cuts and savings we've found, we will have to find additional savings to be able to be fiscally solvent. We know we will run out of money, I think as was presented earlier, in October of next year, and to remain fiscally solvent thereafter.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So next steps toward fiscal solvency. Some actions taken already. Positions and payroll balance to budget. So that's the great work Gloria and her team is going to do with Concy and her team of making sure we have somebody overseeing our position. We removed salary and benefit budget lines. When FICMAT was here doing an interview process in their exit interview with me, we didn't lock down our salary lines and benefit lines. So there was movement in resources out of the what we call 1, 2s, and 3s, or the salary and budget lines. So one of the things we did is once we have a position budgeted, it stays with that person and it doesn't leave that person. We also have a purchasing freeze. We've been working very closely with our fiscal advisor. You should be seeing this coming out pretty soon, but any expenditures over $5,000 are being reviewed by a committee to make sure that they're in line with what our vision of the school district is, but also what reductions we can make from those. No teacher substitute changes. Keeping our place safe, instructional environment. Those are things that we're going to continue to sub for. But those areas that are non-critical, unless a person's out more than 2 weeks, they're not going to be afforded a sub. Contracts reviewed centrally. There was a practice in Sacramento for the school sites to obligate the district to entities. That is no longer being allowed. All contracts are coming through the purchasing committee and will be reviewed centrally. Overview of our new open positions prior to filling. This was a process I told you earlier. It was 12 to 15 steps through continuous improvement. We look at things for operational efficiencies and effectiveness. We've got it down to 5 steps. So I'm very glad that working with our cabinet, we're able to bring some efficiencies to our team. Part of our plan to the SCOE is we needed to bring a timeline. So here to talk about the timeline is my partner, Concy.
And just to share, this timeline illustrates if the district was going to go through a fact-finding process, what that might look like. The negotiations, as you know, the district put forward sunshining proposals to the board last month, which were approved, authorizing the district to begin negotiations. That process is a lengthy one. This timeline describes what it might look like, along with some of the potential budget implications.
So in summary, our expenditures simply are more than our revenues. 91% of our unrestricted budget is allocated towards salary and benefits. So that exceeds the state average of 85% by over 6%. Spending one-time funding on salary increases creates an ongoing unfunded commitment. Continued increase costs in healthcare, salaries, special education, sorry about that, special education contributions, CalSTRS and PERS. Most districts in California, 770 of them, not that I know that number, have health cap on health benefits costs paid by the district. The Fiscal Crisis Management Assistant Team will be presenting the results of their fiscal health analysis at the next board meeting, which will be December 13th. Taking all these together, we're unable to fund programs, activities, and essential services. One of the reasons I'm here is because the superintendent told me a story about, can we afford flag football next year for our students? And it attracted me. That can't be the conversation. So I need to come find the yes. How do we do this? So it severely limits your ability and the superintendent's ability to advance equity, access, and social justice for our students.
Dr. Quinto, why don't you go back to that slide? We have a question from First Vice President Wu.
Thank you, Dr. Quinto. Did I hear you correctly that you said that 770 school districts in California have a cap on health benefits?
Yes, I was doing some research and reached out to a colleague who teaches at FICMET, and I wanted to know how many of our school districts don't have a health cap or have a health cap, and so that number came from him.
Okay, because just for people who are out in the audience and don't have a frame of reference, as I sit on the CSBA Board of Directors, we have 1,000 school district members in the state of California, so 770 of them represent 77% of school districts that have a health benefits cap. One other question, and this is maybe rhetorical given your less check mark, but do you have any then recommendations for us as a board to see how we are going to give our students an equal opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options as we move forward? That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With that, we have no additional questions on the current presentation. We're going to go ahead and go to public comment. Mr. Barrios, do we have public comment on this item?
We have one public comment from Cecile Nunley.
Thank you, Cecile. We're not tired. We're actually looking forward to what you have to say.
Is it possible I can turn this on and work this? Or I know technology, it's going to get
Elliot's connecting it right now.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to try and go through everything that I have questions on, but there were a few things that were a little just concerning to me that when I looked at some of the items, if I do this one correctly, now you can't hear me. The number here on other outgo, it's 5 million. I'm sorry you can't see it, but it is 5 million right here in adopted budget, and then it goes to 0 in the budget that you're approving now, but it has expenditures there of 103,000. When I look down into the detail, that was for debt service. And I understand Dr. Quinto's presentation was only from October to now, because I had to go and ask Ms. Ryland that. But that was confusing to me, and I would have expected that in the presentation, that here's what the original budget was, and then here's where we are now. And not hearing that, I wouldn't know what was going on, even from the presentation and just looking at the paperwork. And I understand, I guess that was discussed at the last board meeting, so I didn't hear that, but that was one that was confusing. And then there's another one also on the benefits, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's a benefit line that changed significantly, like 3 million. I think it's the OPEB. Did you guys decide, I suppose, that that would not, you would not, let me see, can I find it? Oh, it's on this one. There was $3 million OPEB budget line, original budget, and then it just goes to zero. And there was no explanation. The other thing that I noticed on that, typically what's required whenever these are presented is that you also have to have your assumptions. So when I looked at the assumptions, the reasons why those changes were there were not there either.
So what I'm going to do, Cecile, is I'm going to ask Dr. Kinto and his team to respond to that.
Okay. all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Mr. Elliott, can you put the PowerPoint? So in answer to your question, ma'am, if I can get there.
Well, here we go. Here's other outgo, which is the line that Cecile was speaking to in the object code.
Exactly.
She
And to give you the detail of that, Gloria, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I just didn't hear it.
Yes.
I didn't see it written.
Right.
Nothing.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you, Cecile.
Ms. Noonley, the lease revenue bond was moved out of the general fund. We're going to be paying that now out of the other funds. So that's why there's a reduction there. It's part of the cost savings to the general fund.
Okay, so it's no longer ever going to be in the general fund, I guess? Is that what we're saying?
At this point, it's
Not at
a
this point.
temporary measure to try to mitigate our current budget challenge.
Okay, all right. And then the OPEB?
And the OPEB contribution?
And that was reduced at the October 4th board meeting, so we removed it out of the budget to reflect that.
Can I just make it that it is?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cecile. We appreciate your comments as always. Do we have any additional board member comments or questions? So, I would just want to say, clearly we're making progress towards closing the budget deficit. We recognize that this will not be over tonight with the first interim, that we still have significant savings to find, which is why we have spoken at length about the importance of working in partnership to find healthcare savings. The reality is, I think the board has been very committed to not imposing unilateral cuts. We want to ensure our due diligence in taking the time to actualize the necessary healthcare savings so that we are not in a position where we are having to make cuts across the district. And I feel like this is an important first step. I'm very appreciative of the staff's work. I'm appreciative of Ms. Ryland's tireless watch, and know that this will be something that we'll be continuing to, as a board, spend countless time on in the coming months, because we have no option to fail. Our students are counting on us to do the right thing and materialize the necessary savings. So thank you, Dr. Kinto. Board Member Vang.
So I know that our board and superintendent has worked incredibly hard to address the deficit. I do want to know, when is the trigger point? Let's say if we don't realize the savings, I just, in terms of timeline, because I see here that SCOE has the state and Senate authority, and so I just want to know, even though we're working really hard and we don't want to get there, what is the trigger point for that?
The trigger point is November of 2019. When we run out of money, we will go into state receivership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional board member comments or questions? Okay, so this is an item for action. Do we have a motion?
I
Second?
think you move from conference to action.
Sorry, we're moving from conference to action. Do we have a motion? Student preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're moving on to item 9.
We now action.
Sorry. Now we're taking action. Do we have a motion? Second, student preferential board member vote.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Moving on to item 9.3, approving the 2019-20 budget calendar, also presented by Dr. Quinto.
Good evening, Board President, Board Members, Superintendent Aguilar. That was the great work by Miss Gloria Chung, and I want to make sure that she gets full credit and presents our budget calendar.
I am surprised. So our budget calendar, I'm gonna pull it. So we need to have a budget calendar. And just roughly, we start with December, bringing our calendar to the board. And then key points include January, where we meet with the LCAP, and when we go attend the governor's proposed budget. Into February, we bring a budget update before the board with the proposed change, with the proposal from the governor. Moving forward, we go into March, where we have the layoff notices and board actions on recommended budget reductions. In April, we bring forward with our CONSES team our layoff notices as needed. And in May, we attend the governor's May revise, again, bringing forward the information as the latest updates. In June, then we must bring together both the LCAP for adoption, proposal on adoption, and the board and the budget simultaneously for the new year. So that's our budget calendar. This year, we added in as well. In September, added to the calendar is our unaudited actuals, because that's an important document.
Do we have any public comment on the budget calendar?
We have one comment from Cecile Nunley.
Cecilia, why don't you just stay in the front row?
I know, I was packed up and ready to go. You see, I got on my coat. I was gonna make a run for it. Is this on, or did I do it wrong? Oh, there it is. Hey. One of the things that's concerning me with the budget calendar, I didn't see anything in the budget calendar regarding enrollment and those enrollment projections. That is so critical when you're doing your budget. Enrollment projections guide everything. It's going to guide your staffing. You need to know how many students, so you know how many teachers. You need to know how many students, because you're going to have per student, you're going to have the expenditures. It's going to determine your revenue, everything. And I didn't see that listed specifically in the calendar. I think that it really should be included, and especially should be something that's presented to the board. The other thing that I did make note of, there's the ADA that was there, and then I think there was the ADA that was there, which is a little different, and then there's the ADA that's on the multi-year, and it's different again. And it was starting, I mean, you're seeing those inconsistencies. I think, I'm not sure, and I know it's easy to critique, because I've been on the other side, so I'm sorry. But sometimes I think we get boilerplate, and it's just take the time on some of that boilerplate and make sure that we're having the most accurate information here that goes out to the public. Because as what happened, from what I understand, with this latest round of the budget issues that came up after June, some of the information had to be explained to the public, and it was difficult because it wasn't clear. And just feel that it's very important that we make things a little bit more clear to the public and that it's explicit in the documents that are being submitted. So sometimes on that boilerplate, maybe 2 or 3 eyes on it so that it's, make sure that you incorporate all those changes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Did you make note of that, Ms. Jung? Thank you. Do we have any board comments, questions? Seeing none, I note that this is an action item, so we need to adopt this budget calendar for 1920. Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second. Any discussion? Student Board Member Calvo?
Aye.
My colleagues, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 9.4, update on the 2019-20 and 2021 school calendars. Ms. McNarn.
Good evening, Vice President Wu, members of the board, and Superintendent Aguilar. I'm sure the presentation will be coming up, but I know you have a hard copy as well. So my pushing that button doesn't do any good. No worries. The 1920-2021 calendar update is what I'm here to talk with you about. And just a little reminder as to where we are. On June 21st, the board approved 1920-2021 traditional school calendars subject to further negotiation with labor partners. The calendar that was approved subject to further negotiations had August 14th as a start date for the 1920 school year and August 12th for the 2021 school year. And just to review where we've come from, the framework agreement that was signed in November of 2017 identified a goal for our future calendars. The language in there says that in the development of future calendars, one of the major underlying goals would be to offer opportunities and enrichment for students to attend local institutions of higher education. And so that was most certainly a focus as we looked and worked towards putting together something for 1920 and 2021. So given that the last day of school this current year is June 13th, students would not be able to take advantage of community college courses that begin June 10th of 2019. Students would not be able to begin fresh lessons in January after returning from winter break because the semester ends after we come back from break, January 25th, thus having that extended period of time in there. Students would have less instructional days prior to AP testing given the current start date of August 30th. And we noted that Elk Grove Unified had 14 more instructional days and Twin Rivers had 16 additional instructional days as compared to Sac City. We also shared with you the academic impacts and the additional considerations made as we looked at the calendar. Again, with the goal of focusing on additional opportunities. So not only in student enrichment opportunities, additional instructional days, and clean breaks, as was just described, but also additional considerations including potentially increased student enrollment retention by moving up the student enrollment period. Also noting that we are the remaining district in the area that starts near Labor Day. So aligning our calendars with neighboring districts, again, potentially providing our students with additional opportunities for summer jobs and internships, and improving recruitment and hiring timelines for prospective teachers and principals, given that the calendar would start earlier, similar to those surrounding districts. We also shared with you some of the courses and pathways related to summer enrichment opportunities that would be more difficult for our students given our current calendar timeline and what moving that up would mean. During the process, we went through a calendar committee and had recommendations that were part of what you saw in June of this year of 2018 and made the approval on. So in 1920, that committee recommended and you approved subject to further negotiations starting August 14th, which would be about 2 weeks earlier than we've started in the past, having being similarly competitive with surrounding districts and having additional time to transition to a new school year, with 2021 looking again at August 12th. The 1920 school year would then, on this version, end May 28th. And with the school year ending by the end of May, again, additional opportunities for our students to participate in summer courses, summer college courses, and compete for summer jobs. The committee looked also at having Monday after spring break as a day that it would not be in session. And we provided for you data from 15, 16, 16, 17, and 17, 18 around our attendance rate compared to others. Finally, the results of the school year ending with 3 full days for students after Memorial Day, better for students taking the final exams at the time. We then shared with you what the draft student calendar would look like for 1920 and 2021, which you have in your packets as well. So the calendars, as we shared at that time, were subject to further negotiations with our labor partners, and that part of what the district would do would be to require all sites to implement hot air or unhealthy air days to ensure a healthy environment for students and staff. In addition, the district would engage in an awareness campaign in order to outreach regarding the benefits of the change, if approved. You then went forward and approved subject to further negotiations in June. So we were able to meet yesterday, actually, with our remaining partner and reshared the June 12th proposal that was made at that time. We've not yet received a counter proposal, but we have been asked for additional data, additional items that we may not be able to produce. Things such as being able to show that students would be disadvantaged when looking for summer employment due to the academic calendar ending the second week in June, which is when it currently ends. Additionally, evidence that student enrollment would increase if the school year began similar to our surrounding districts. We look forward to quickly resolving these issues, this issue of the school calendar, and that's the update that we're able to provide.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We have none.
We have none. Do I have any comments from my colleagues? I have one, but who is it? Who? Member. Second Vice President Minnick.
You haven't figured out how to use the new system?
No, I just got here.
All right, fair enough.
Trained.
All right. Thank you for this, and I'm not going to complain about how long this has taken because I do that every time. But I do appreciate that we're moving forward. I think this is really getting disturbingly time sensitive right now. Like, I've had parents asking me for months already, like, what's the schedule like? For the following year, so I can plan my summer vacations, all those kind of things. One of the things that you mentioned that we hadn't specifically talked about before, which I really appreciated, was that this shift also allows 3 full days after Memorial Day, which is kind of perfectly aligned with the finals schedule, which is very cool. And I know that I think in the slide, I don't know what number it was, sorry. There was a couple data points that were asked by one of our labor partners, and I can understand wanting to make sure that we're making the right decision. So I can appreciate that. I will say though that in terms of when we think about high school students, having finals before winter and the ability to take classes at City College or wherever in the summer, like those 2 points alone feel like they're strong enough, and some of the work I'm doing in my day job around AB 288, which is a dual enrollment legislation that allows us to, have courses at the community college that are closed to high school students only, are these great opportunities. And we can create those, not only out on high school campuses, but on our college campus where I work. So we could have some pretty extensive opportunities for kids to take college courses from our district at City College, if it were to align with our ability to do that. We're not really motivated to create a lot of those opportunities if kids aren't going to be able to get there for the first 2 days of class or whatever anyway. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think this is really important. It impacts a lot of other systems besides our own, and a lot of families. So, but thank you for all the work on it, and I'm hopeful that we are the next time we talk about this, it's going to be because we just voted to implement it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Second Vice President Minnick. Member Pritchett.
Thank you, Member Wu. Concy, can you, on the update page, can you tell me like what the next steps are? I know you said you guys met yesterday and that that the SCTA is asking for additional information. Is there a second meeting set up?
There isn't at this time, but we will be reaching back out with some proposed next steps, given that we weren't able to reach agreement, haven't been able to reach an agreement yet.
Okay, so this is my concern because we're in December, and when we tried to work on this calendar before, I think we were in December then as well. And then by the time it rolled around where we were discussing, are we going to change it or are we not? Then we said, oh, it's already like January, February. And people are complaining that they already had their vacations planned or babysitters planned. And so we need to work on this fast. I know that you know that, but it would be helpful for us to know that there's meetings planned like within the next couple of weeks. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Pritchett. Any others? Seeing none, I have a couple comments. You mentioned the benefits to our students for getting out when at the end of the school year aligns with everybody else's, particularly for those who are graduating from high school or those who are in high school who seek to take classes at community college and the like. That's somewhat anecdotal, and I see that our bargaining partner is seeking the data about that. But when do you expect to deliver that data? Because while Member Pritchett was hoping that you would meet in the next couple weeks, I was hoping maybe the next board meeting, which is next Thursday, we could get a report. I mean, again, I agree with Member Pritchett. We've come by this for many, many years now. And, we know what the arguments are. If you need data to support it, then go ahead and provide the data for them. But at the end of the day, it is our students who are losing out. And if we are, as we all like to consider that we are students first, I think that our priority would be to make sure that our students can have the greatest number of post-secondary options by moving up the calendar. So that's my comment. This is an information item, so I thank you for the information. But I ask you not to go anywhere because I see that you are item 9.5, approve the submission of credential waiver applications to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing.
I am on there, and actually speaking to you tonight is going to be our Director of Employee Relations, Cindy Nguyen.
Thank you. Good evening, Board Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Aguilar. We do not frequently take waivers to the board. However, we are requesting for the board to review and approve the waiver of 8 teachers for HR to submit to CTC. This waiver will allow them until the end of this school year in June to finish the requirements that are required for their certification while they are in their programs. In your board packet lists the 8 teachers. There are 5 B-clad teachers, 1 ROTC, and 2 speech therapists. Staff recommends approving this waiver so HR can forward the application. I'm available for questions.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Do we have questions or comments from board members? We have a question from First Vice President Wu.
Thank you, Cindy. I noticed that many of these waivers that we're seeking are for our immersion program, language immersion programs. And so I think that it is very, very important because they are so difficult to hire that we seek these waivers so that they have more time to get the required credentials.
Yes, they are absolutely hard to fill positions. Thank you.
So I note that, and so with that, I'm going to move from conference to action.
All those in favor?
Aye. And I'll move the action.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Preferential vote?
And our student
sorry.
preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10.0, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second, student preferential vote.
I vote yes on all open session items.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 11.0, communications. 11.1, employee organizational reports. First, SCTA.
Good evening, David Fisher, President of Sacramento City Teacher Association. Well, obviously with this unprecedented rejection of the Sacramento City Unified School District budget by SCOE in August, pretty clear statement of some fundamental problems in our school district. Here we are again tonight when the board is being asked to consider another deficit budget. To address the budget crisis, SCTA made a proposal to the district back in September 2018 that would immediately save the district $16.6 million by primarily curbing bureaucratic bloat and ensuring that any cuts don't affect the classroom. The district has not responded to our proposal. In addition, last November 2017, way before we even knew about a budget crisis, as part of our contract settlement with the district, SCTA reached an agreement to work together to explore potential savings to health plans so that those dollars could be redirected from insurance companies and back into the classroom while maintaining the same level of benefits for educators. You have a copy there of the agreement we reached, which includes both the contract language in Article 13 and the mayor's handwritten agreement that the savings would be used to address the staffing goals set forth in that agreement. We had already had our press conference about that back when we got the contract settlement. After the agreement was reached, the district signed a contract with Checker, which the board approved on January 18th, 2018. And proud to say, as a result of that agreement, already we've helped the district to save approximately $5 million for this year, 2018-19, with the potential for even greater savings in 19-20 and years beyond. In today's packet, on page 12 of 136, you'll see that savings where the budget was over $117 million for benefits, and now it's a little under $112 million. So more than $5 million in savings already. As you can further see by our letters to the district dated November 1st, 2018 and November 15th, we've been pressing the district to initiate a more focused health plan directed conversations for months. We're pleased that the district may finally be prepared to do so in accordance with the contracts that we signed with the district over a year ago. Now, unfortunately, we were, I guess, bewildered when the district decided to sue the very same teachers who it reports to it wants to work with to prevent us from arbitrating the salary schedule dispute, thereby preventing us from even reaching a timely solution. The arbitrator is selected, agreed to by both parties. He agreed to hear the dispute on an expedited basis. it would have already provided a decision in a process that would have cost the district maybe $1,000. As an aside, Mr. Aguilar himself had agreed to have the dispute heard by the arbitrator. According to recent court documents from the court, the case management conference is not even scheduled until May 23rd, 2019. And one outcome that will be considered is whether the matter would be better resolved through arbitration, which we already could have had done. By the way, January 7th, I believe, is still available on the arbitrator schedule, and we could get this resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
I got 3 more paragraphs. It appears to us that the district is doing everything it can, including suing its own teachers, to avoid an arbitration in which it evidently doesn't have confidence it will prevail. In the meantime, morale continues to plummet as the district leaders appear not only to be unable to manage the district finances, but unwilling to honor the signed written agreements, also seem unwilling to even resolve the issues expeditiously through binding arbitration mandated by our contract. Instead, the district files a frivolous lawsuit that only serves to enrich your law firm
Thank you,
while
Mr.
disrespecting
Fisher. Your
teachers.
time is up. I appreciate
As the
it.
budget, yeah, so I'm just gonna finish. I got 2 more sentences. By contract, we get 15, we never take it. We could file grievance, but if you just let me finish instead. As the budget crisis continues to unfold and we experience how the district is mishandling our contract, we're not confident that leadership is willing or able to address these issues. If needed, we look forward to work with the county and the state to address the long-term financial viability of the district and to address the immediate budget fiasco. Thank you.
SCIU, TCS, Teamsters, UPE. Moving on to item 11.2, District Parent Advisory Committees. District English Learner Advisory Committee. Local Control Accountability Plan Parent Advisory Committee. Hi, Tony. Very excited about your new addition.
I am very excited about our new
And
addition.
congratulations on your award at the Black Pearl School Board.
Thank you very much. That is one of the things that I really valued and take pride in for the work that I've been doing for many, many years. So it's nice to be recognized, actually. So I'm Tony Tinker, and I'm on the LCAP PAC, and it's good to see Superintendent and all of the board members. This will probably be the last time I get to speak before I go down, so to have this baby. So, you know, I wanted to give a report about LCAP, and I have to say that we are very happy, I'm very happy to see the improvements and the communication between the board and work of the budget, the superintendent, and all of the new pieces to LCAP, and really taking into account LCAP as a body and the potential that it has from a parent engagement community. And the fact that LCAP is so integral in the budget that we're all talking about right now, and the fact that you have a barrage of different parents on the LCAP board, the LCAP PAC right now, that can help. So I just want to give a report about the things that we have been doing. We have presentations on the federal ESSA and Title I monitoring, which is very helpful. It's very helpful because, as you know, LCAP will be adding an addendum with Title I funding into it. So we now are going to be assessing that money's coming through federal monies as well. We also were given information about the improvement of the site-based SIPSAs and the data-driven and parent-informed needs assessments. So we have a better sense of what's happening at each of the sites and each of the areas that we are falling short on. We're greatly appreciative of Dr. Harris, who's been spending a lot of time with us, and the disaggregated information that's coming towards us. Never before have we been able to have such high level of disaggregation of data and to be able to look, yeah, it's encouraging. It's very encouraging to look at coming from a lot of laymen from the PAC and looking at this data and being able to make recommendations that are clear-cut and informative. The intersectionality of different student groups, although looking at the dashboard, we're still low in those areas. And it's really somewhere I'm going to continue to push to say we need to step it up in those areas. Regardless of what happens with our budget, we're still here.
Thank
And
you.
our kids of color are still here. And then the introduction to Dr. Quinto and the approach of his equity-based budgeting, the transparent reporting for expenditures tied to LCAP, the objectives, and early reporting of the academic year. One of the things that I really want to say is that we need more explicit information about the budget. We need to know what's coming at us, and to be able to have regular detailed reports, regular conversations, even perhaps to have some of us come forward on some of those budget committee and be able to come back.
Thank you for your comments, Tony. We
So-
so appreciate your service. And I have to tell you, I know that you have been a longtime watchdog and advocate for our students and families. It's incredibly encouraging to hear you say that there have been improvements in the LCAP PAC, and to give us some concrete recommendations for how we can continue to make the process worth your time.
I think to continue to just having an open and transparent conversation with us, as much as you're having a transparent conversation with the community about the budget, we represent each of those areas too that you're facing challenges with.
That's absolutely right. Board Member Minnick has a question or a comment.
I just had a question, and I don't know if it's to you or to Ms. Morrison or Superintendent. I want to find out kind of where we're at right now with the incorporation of the student voice on the LCAP. I know we've been talking about it for a long time, and I want to kind of see, have there been changes? Where are we at kind of in that process? Because I want to make sure that we kind of know where we're at.
So I have to report back to you that the students are phenomenal.
Awesome.
They take the adults to task, but you can also see the critical thinking, the engagement, and also their growth of being able to engage with us. So, good move.
And can you quickly just kind of explain like what the process is, or who it is that's attending, and not names, but like, you know, and what their role is as related to previous?
So there's a group of students that Kathy has met with, has got them up to speed. And one student in particular, she's coming back, she's asking critical questions, she's really engaged. But there have been other students that have come as well. And so some of them are able to come every meeting, some of them can't. So they're rotating in and giving comments and feedback. And they're throughout the district. They represent students throughout the district and different student groups and ethnicities.
And so then it's my understanding then that they're meeting outside of the LCAP PAC meetings so that they can share information with each other and rotate in and out?
And I think, and Kathy can better speak to this, but from what I'm understanding, they are doing that, but they're also engaging with us in that our meetings monthly.
Right, and I
as
see
well.
that my colleague, member Halba, is listening in too, so then I'm hopeful she'll be able to give some insight too. Thanks.
Yes.
Student Board Member Halbo.
I just wanted to say that yesterday, actually, at the last Student Advisory Council meeting, Kathy came and talked to us a little bit about some updates on the LCAP, and I believe that we're moving forward with attempting to go through the packet that she gave us and make a version from the Student Advisory Council. Each of us took a page, and so we'll be making a version that we can try and translate into something that the students will understand, and hopefully be able to put that out through the district as well.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Ms.
You're
Tinker.
welcome.
We so appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Item 11.3, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Ryan. I'm going to be as brief as I can. I first want to start by congratulating everyone that's been involved with our flag football teams. The regular season has ended this week, and I want to thank in particular Mr. Greg Purcell, our athletics coordinator, who took this vision and made it possible. I want to announce the 6 league champions who are moving forward to the playoffs beginning this Friday. In the Lions division, Hollywood Park Cougar Division, Matsuyama. Warriors number 1 division is Ethel I. Baker. Warriors number 2 division is Phoebe Hurst. Wolverines division, Golden Empire. And Titans division is Parkway. I want to invite our community, our board. The first round of playoffs is taking place at Pony Express at 3:45, and it will have Ethel I. Baker versus Matsuyama, Parkway versus Golden Empire. The semi-final playoff games will be on Monday, December 10th at 3:45 at Pony Express. The semifinal game will be the winner of Matsuyama versus Ethel I. Baker versus Phoebe Hurst. And the semifinal game 2 will be the winner of Parkway versus Golden Empire versus Hollywood Park. The city championship game will be on Friday, December 14th at 6:45, under the lights, as they would say, at JFK High School. And it will be the semifinal game winner number 1 versus semifinal game winner number 2. Extremely excited. We will have an announcer, and I believe we will be live streaming the championship game of our flag football teams. And I can't wait and hope that lots of community members and board members who are available will join us. I know that you share in the excitement that we have launched this elementary sports program, and we are working very diligently to make sure that not only do we continue, but in fact expand these programs. Thank you very much. I also just mentioned very quickly, but do want to just continue to focus a bit on this, thanking everyone who has contributed to ensuring that while, as Ms. Tinker mentioned, there are areas in our California school dashboard that certainly need a lot of attention, particularly in the area of groups of students. We're very excited that in today's release, our graduation rates now exceed the state graduation rate. And that's just evidence that, and we should keep in mind that it is evidence that we're moving in the right direction because we have such dedicated educators and staff that continue to focus on student achievement as our primary objective, as well as grade level readiness. Certainly, many of you, and I want to thank anyone who contributed to ensuring that students met the application deadline for colleges and universities on November 30th, on Friday. My own daughter submitted her last application at about 11:30 that night. But many of you, I know, helped individual students, mentored them, read personal statements and essays, and I just want to thank everyone who did that. Because of the campfire, the CSU system did extend their deadline to December 15th, and so we continue to support our students in making sure that those who are eligible and choose have the opportunity to apply to one of the CSU campuses. And we will continue to focus on that. As our seniors are focused on college applications and the next steps in their journey, I do want to ask all of us to encourage our 8th graders who are going through their own process of selecting their high schools. The high school specialty program application has been live now for a few days, and I want to encourage everyone to access the videos that we have produced promoting, believe it or not, 30 programs that are available throughout the district for our students to choose from as they think about the next step in their K-12 education with Sac City Unified. We have wonderful programs, some that are computer science-based, ROTC-based, IB-based, public service, criminal justice programs as well. Really, we should feel very fortunate that we have such a myriad of opportunities for our students in the district. And finally, I just want to end by saying that Certainly, as we all listened to Dr. Quinto's presentation about our first interim, these are obviously challenging times, but I'm also going to remember the words of Nathan earlier, who said that they're also exciting times. And with the spirit of collaboration, we will overcome these challenges. So thank you very much for your continued partnership. Thank you, President Ryan.
Thank you, Superintendent Aguilar. I will not deliver prepared remarks tonight or give updates on the many community activities that we currently have underway. What I do want to say, given the remarkable turn of events of this evening, is that I still deeply and fundamentally believe that we can and will, in partnership with our teachers and our other labor partners, move this district forward. I had a parent-teacher conference with my daughter's teacher last week, in which my daughter's teacher was moved to tears as she talked about how happy she was to have her in her classroom and how she was doing everything, including moving mountains, to make sure that my child could be successful. I believe that she is moving mountains to make sure that my child is successful. And though I know that this district has had a strained and difficult relationship with SCTA over the decades, I have to believe that when we come together with a focus on our students, we can overcome those difficulties. It might be naive, but I don't think that there is a member of the board who ran for office and chose to serve in a belief that we would not be serving alongside our teachers, our custodians, our cafeteria workers, our administrators, our central office staff that day in, day out give so much of themselves and more. And so while I know that the work ahead of us will be difficult, I know it will be trying at times, what I hope that we will do is put aside the divisive rhetoric and focus on our shared interest. And our shared interest is our students. And at the end of the day, it begins with each of us saying it stops here. We are partners. We have to be willing to do what's necessary to ensure that this district is healthy for our children and for future generations of children. Item 11.5, Student Board Member Report, Rachel Halbo.
So just a couple quick updates in terms of student groups. Men's and Women's Leadership Academy held a pre-screening of Creed 2 with the Sacramento Kings, where they had the opportunity to watch alongside the Kings and visit with them afterwards. They're also hosting a coat, sock, and blanket drive for the homeless in Sacramento. There should be a donation area downstairs in the Cerna Center, and they're looking for other locations to put those up. Malik Ibarra and Cecilia Kokiko were featured in a Building Healthy Communities video documenting how 14 communities are working together to build a healthy California. Source Media hosted their first Be Here rally for elementary schools, which was held at Harkness Elementary. The Student Advisory Council will have our first youth council meeting on November 19th from 1 to 3. Attending the CSBA convention was a really amazing experience, and on a personal level, it really reiterated for me that I want to spend the rest of my life in education and dealing with education policy. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of amazing student board members from districts all over the state, but I also spent a lot of time in discussions with several superintendents about student voice, which was an amazing experience. I chose to go to a lot of sessions that apparently were not popular with my fellow student board members, so it left me in an interesting position as the only student in the room in many of my sessions. The dichotomy between statements of student inclusion and the number of students in these sessions was very clear to me, but it provided me with an incredibly eye-opening opportunity to engage policymakers from across the state in discourse about the value of true student voice and the repercussions of the representations of the rhetoric surrounding student voice and the agency of students in our schools. I look forward to using the knowledge that I gained at CSBA in the coming year.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your wise reflections. Information sharing by board members. Do we have any board members that wish to report out? Board Member Wu?
I'm almost afraid to say because I feel so inadequate having heard student board member Halbo, but I'll try anyway. So, as she mentioned, California School Board Association Annual Education Conference was held last week. I have been elected to the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Members Association, and because I needed to be a member of that organization to be elected to their board, I have included you all as members of their board as well. And so I've paid for the membership for all of us for a year. You don't have to pay me back, but next time go to the meeting and vote for me. While I was at CSBA, I was called out during one of the general sessions to take an interview, and I am happy to report that the California Teachers CTC, California Teacher Credentialing, has reappointed me to their Committee of Credentials. So
Congratulations.
I start hearings next week. Thank you.
And in all his spare time, he will be rowing in the morning.
It's too cold.
Thank you so much, First Vice President Wu. Any other board member reports? Looks like we don't have any. Board committee reports. Do we have facilities? No. Budget. I think we've talked about budget tonight. Governance and Policy Committee. Board Member Wu. Board Evaluation Committee.
One thing. I'm sorry. I will be bringing before the Board Governance and Policy Committee a resolution that I picked up from San Francisco Unified regarding suspensions of African American children. And we can discuss that in committee. I think it's a very interesting resolution, and I'll bring it to the committee.
Wonderful, thank you. And the Board Evaluation Committee has no updates as we reported back the results of our first board evaluation of the superintendent. Item 12.0, Business and Financial Information, receive reports. 12.1, receive the enrollment and attendant report, the purchase order report, and the report on contract expenditures. Item 13.0, future board meeting dates and locations. Our next board meeting, I want to note this because quite often we only have one board meeting in December. This year we have two, will be December 13th, which will be the installation of our two new board members. 4:30 p.m. closed session will begin here at the Cerna Center. Item 14.0, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Ellen, can I get it?
Hey, Jesse. Jesse, we didn't need to go back upstairs? You don't need to. Okay. Good, I can go do my homework.
Send me that thing.
Huh?
Send me that.
Oh, yeah, let's send myself let me send myself an email right now. I could send you my entire addendum if you like, so you can see. Like I have some things in there for remodeling, they can't remodel. Hey, Santa.
I'm sending you a text message.
Good. I just sent myself an email. You know what about?
No, I'm sending.
Oh. For the holiday?
Alex? How you doing, sir? I know, look at you.